I met her like most people meet someone they think they'll marry. By accident. It was her freshman year, my sophomore year, and we lived in the same dorm building, not 10 feet apart from lives we hadn't yet built. We met through a mutual friend, then re-met through casual hallway conversations, late-night group study sessions, and that unmistakable electric current that starts off as banter and ends in something that feels like fate. Her laugh caught me first. Not loud, not exaggerated, but soft and real, like it was something she rarely gave away unless you earned it. I found out quickly that we were from the same area, just 2 towns apart. So when she didn't have a ride home that first break, I offered. It wasn't a big deal, just 20 minutes out of the way, but she smiled like I'd offered her the world. Maybe I had. The rides became a tradition. Every break, we'd listen to the same playlists. Past gas stations we'd nickname like landmarks in our own private road trip. By the 3rd or 4th trip, I wasn't just offering. I was looking forward to it. And so was she. By spring we were inseparable. She'd crash in my dorm after long nights. I'd carry her books when her hands were full. She met my roommates, my study group, my jokes, my flaws. She never flinched. I loved that about her. She just fit. Not in a fairy tale way, but in a real, practical, everyday kind of magic that makes you believe maybe you got lucky in this lifetime. When I graduated a year ahead, I thought the distance would kill us, but it didn't. I got a great job back in our hometown, and every weekend I drove back to her. Sometimes she'd come to me. Sometimes we'd meet halfway. But we made it work. No drama, no guilt. Just effort. Real effort. That's rare. I thought I'd found the rarest thing of all. A partner. Teammate. Someone who wanted to build life with me, not just enjoy it beside me. After she graduated, she moved in. It was natural. No big announcement. No drama. Just a weekend where she brought over all her things and stayed. The apartment was small, the rent was high, but we were happy. She got a job at a great firm in the city. I helped her prep for the interview, waited outside the building, bought her a milkshake when she nailed it. We had routines. We had rituals. Wednesday takeout. Sunday mornings in bed. She'd leave me notes in my lunchbox. I'd leave her flowers in the fridge. Small things that built a big life. Our families met early on. Her parents were kind, soft-spoken, thoughtful. Mine were more outspoken but warm, the type of people who make extra food just in case company shows up. They liked each other. More than liked, they clicked. At every family party, barbecue, or holiday, she was right there, arm in arm with my mom, teasing my dad, laughing with my cousins like she'd always been one of us. I saw no red flags. My dad even took to calling her just to check in, something I found charming. He'd ask for her opinion on birthday parties, surprises for my mom, little things. I never questioned it. Why would I? In my mind, she was already family. And my dad. He was my model for what loyalty looked like. My example of what a husband should be. We worked on cars together. Watched football together. Argued about barbecue sauce like it was religion. He was never perfect, but he was mine. My anchor. After 3 years of living together, I proposed. A weekend away, just us, under the stars with a ring that I picked out after 6 months of saving. She cried. She said yes. We told our families. There were happy tears. Group hugs. Champagne. I remember thinking that this moment was what life was about. Not money. Not careers. But choosing someone. Building something. And I'd chosen her. She'd chosen me. And everyone we loved had chosen us. We started planning the wedding. Venues, florals, guest lists, registries. Our parents were involved, especially my mom. She and Elle bonded quickly. My dad too. Sometimes too much, but I chalked it up to him being proud. Proud that his son found someone so remarkable. Sometimes he'd call her directly about family events or surprise gifts. I never thought much of it. I mean, what kind of person suspects that? Not with your father. Not with your fiancé. Not when your entire future is built on the foundation of both those people being in your life forever. Looking back, there were signs. Fleeting ones. Awkward glances, strange tones. But nothing that said beware. Nothing that screamed. Just whispers I ignored. Because when you love people deeply, you assume they'd never put a knife in your back. let alone twist it. So we kept planning, picking out songs, talking about our first dance, her dress, my suit, writing our vows in the notes app of our phones, talking about our future kids, how we wanted 2, maybe 3. Big yard, a golden retriever, swing on the porch. I thought we were in the middle of the happiest chapter. I didn't know the betrayal had already started writing the ending. At first it was endearing, my dad taking such a strong interest in my fiancée. He liked to check in, offer her advice, ask for help planning surprises for my mom. I figured he saw something in her that reminded him of what he once had with my mother, and maybe that's why he gravitated toward Elle. I didn't mind it. Not at first. She was going to be part of the family after all. And if she felt included, welcomed, connected to more than just me, wasn't that a good thing? That's what I told myself when I noticed he started calling her directly. At first it was for birthdays, holidays, family party details. Totally explainable. But over time those calls stretched longer. They happened more frequently. And when I'd walk into the room while she was on the phone with him, she'd sometimes hang up mid-laugh, offering only vague explanations. "Just your dad," she'd say, waving it off. "We were talking about your mom's retirement party." Smiled. He nodded. I believed her. But the thing about trust is that once it's given, we rarely question it, even when it starts to crack. There was one time I answered her phone while she was in the shower. It rang and buzzed across the counter and I saw the name. Dad. Just Dad. Not your dad. Just Dad. My eyebrows furrowed for half a second, but I picked up. "Hey, it's me," I said casually. There was a pause. Too long pause. When he finally spoke, his voice was tight. "Oh, I was just calling to talk to Elle about your mom's birthday next week." Another pause. Then silence. "All right, I'll just catch her later." And he hung up. I stared at the phone, confused. Not suspicious. I asked her about it when she came out of the shower. She smiled like I was overreacting. "He wanted to surprise your mom," she said. "Maybe he didn't want you to know." And because I had no reason to doubt either of them, I let it go. That would become a theme. Letting it go. When she got home late and said she'd been helping my mom with something. When he stopped sitting next to my mom at family dinners and started sitting across from Elle. When they'd exchange jokes, only the two of them understood. When he started bringing wine over, because it's her favorite, without asking. When I'd come back from the bathroom and the conversation between them would go silent. Letting it go. Over and over again. Because to suspect your father and your fiancé of something so monstrous felt like paranoia. Like madness. I didn't want to be the guy who questioned everything. Who destroyed something real over feelings he couldn't quite name. And every time doubt crept in, she'd smile. My dad would laugh. And life would keep moving. But doubt is a slow poison. And once it's in your bloodstream, it doesn't leave. It lingers, whispering. I began noticing how often my dad stopped calling me. We used to talk all the time about work, football, cars. Suddenly the calls slowed. He never invited me over without Elle anymore. When we did go over together, he lit up. Not at me but at her. And it wasn't just admiration. It was something else. Something charged. Something a little too familiar. My mom noticed too. Once, she mentioned it in passing, in the kitchen while we did dishes. "Your dad's been acting strange lately," she said, drying a plate. I asked what she meant. She shook her head. "I don't know. Just, not himself. More distracted. Quiet." He nodded. I said maybe he was stressed. Or tired. Or maybe nothing at all. Because I didn't want it to be anything at all. I remember one night, we had a small gathering at our apartment. Just a few close family and friends. Elle looked stunning, dressed in a way I hadn't seen her in a while. I was proud to have her on my arm. But at some point during the night, I found her on the balcony, with him, laughing. Her hand on his arm. Their heads close. I told myself they were just talking. That I was reading too much into it. That this was family. Trust. Love. Respect. But even then, something in my gut began to rot. The final straw before it all came crashing down was subtle. I had just come home from work early one day. My boss canceled a meeting last minute, and I wanted to surprise Elle with lunch. I texted her but she didn't respond. I assumed she was napping. When I got home, the door was locked from the inside. Unusual. I knocked. Waited. She answered, breathless, hair a bit tousled. I asked what she was doing. She said she was cleaning. I asked why she locked the door. She said she hadn't realized it. Her smile didn't reach her eyes that day. My heart told me something was wrong, but my brain told me I loved her. So I let it go. And I wish I hadn't. Because every time I gave them the benefit of the doubt, I was letting them sharpen the knife. It was supposed to be a normal Thursday. Not extraordinary, not memorable, not anything worth writing about. Elle was off that day as usual, and she made breakfast like she always did, eggs, toast, black coffee with a splash of oat milk for me. She kissed me goodbye at the door with a lazy smile and a, "Have a good one, babe," like she had every day for the past 5 years. I drove to work distracted, not by her, but by a forgotten file I realized halfway there I'd need for a 3 p.m. meeting. I told myself I'd just swing home at lunch. No big deal, quick in and out. She kept texting me throughout the morning. Jokes about laundry, asking what I wanted for dinner, a photo of our dog asleep on her lap. All so normal, so horrifically normal that it feels sickening in hindsight. I didn't tell her I was coming home. Why would I? I wasn't hiding anything. I parked in our usual spot, noticed a car I recognized. Not hers, but one that looked far too familiar. My father's car. I hesitated. Just a flicker. But brushed it off. Maybe he stopped by to help her with something, I told myself. That kind of thing had happened before. Nothing about it should have alarmed me. Not until I stepped inside. The silence was wrong. Not total silence. There were sounds, faint, rhythmic, unmistakable once you recognized them, but wrong silence. That kind of silence that blankets chaos like a tarp over a car wreck. I closed the door behind me slowly. I walked further in. There were clothes on the floor, hers. Then socks. Then jeans. Not hers. And that's when my heart fell out of my chest. I don't remember if I gasped or cried or cursed. I just remember feeling nothing, like my whole body shut off to keep me from dying on the spot. I picked up the clothes and walked them into the hallway of our building and dumped them there like trash. Then I did the only thing I could think to do. Pulled out my phone. I started filming. I needed proof. For my own sanity. For every moment I'd gaslit myself into trusting them. The bedroom door was slightly open. I stood there for a moment, the sounds clearer now. I flipped on the light. They both jumped. And when I say they, I mean my father and my fiancé. Naked, exposed, panicked, frozen in that grotesque tableau of betrayal. His face twisted from shock to shame to rage in seconds. Hers went pale. I didn't speak. Kept filming. My father scrambled for a towel, telling me to cut it out, to stop recording, as if I were the one violating boundaries. He lunged toward me. I told him not to. He didn't listen. So I punched him square in the jaw. His head hit the frame, then the floor. I looked at Elle. She hadn't moved. I pointed the camera at her. Concerned about your buddy, but nothing to say to your fiancé? Asked my voice like ice. She opened her mouth but said nothing. I stared at both of them. My future and my blood. Tangled in a nightmare I didn't know how to wake from. I just came to get a file for work, I said. I'll be gone in 5 minutes. If either of you are still here when I get back, this video goes to everyone you know. Left. I sat in my car for a long time, phone still in hand, shaking. My heart was a bomb, my head a hurricane. My boss called. I answered without thinking. Told her I'd be back soon. I changed shirts in my office. Blood on the collar, his, not mine. When I handed her the file, she asked if I was okay. I didn't lie. I told her no. I showed her the video. She watched it silent. When it ended, she looked at me like she didn't know what to say. I didn't either. I got through the meeting that afternoon with a smile so fake it nearly cracked my teeth. Everyone thought I was fine. But my world had just burned down. And I was the only one who knew it. The apartment felt haunted that night, like it had absorbed everything that happened inside it and couldn't breathe either. I didn't turn on the lights. Couldn't, because seeing it in full brightness might have broken me in ways I wasn't ready to name. I stood in the hallway for a long time, staring at the bedroom door like it might come alive and lunge at me with the ghost of what I'd seen earlier. I didn't sleep, not really. Just laid on the couch with my hoodie pulled tight around my face, watching shadows crawl across the ceiling. The place reeked of betrayal, not because it smelled, but because I knew what had happened on every surface. I stared at the coffee cup she made that morning, still sitting in the sink like a time capsule from a version of the day that never really existed. Touched nothing. Clean nothing. It felt like I was trespassing in my own life. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. But something in me was unrecognizably gone. The silence wasn't peaceful. It was loud, accusatory. Kept telling me this is what trust gets you. This is what love lets in. I knew I had to tell my mom. That was the hardest part. Harder than seeing them, harder than hitting him. My mom, had always loved him. My dad, even when he didn't deserve it. She baked his favorite bread on Sundays. Saved every anniversary card. I had to be the one to shatter her illusion. Called. She answered on the second ring. Her voice was warm, unprepared. I couldn't even say it. Just told her I needed to see her right away, that it was serious. She said okay, instantly worried. I drove like a ghost, hands on the wheel, heart still somewhere on that bedroom floor. When I told her I didn't show her the video, just described it. Her face drained of color. Her hand shook as it covered her mouth. She didn't cry. Just said no over and over like that word could turn time backward. Then she asked, "With who?" And I said it. I said Elle's name and it felt like the room cracked in half. I watched her. This woman who had spent decades building a life with a man, crumble without falling apart. She just nodded, stood up, and walked into the kitchen. 5 minutes later, she came out holding a suitcase. She didn't say anything, but I knew what it meant. She was done too. Word spread quickly. Not because I told people, but because people knew. My brother called. He was furious, angrier than I was. Friends messaged. Some offered their couches. Some offered to help me pack. I didn't know what I wanted. I just knew I couldn't be here anymore. Every corner of the apartment felt like a betrayal shrine. I started gathering things that felt like mine. Toothbrush, old hoodie, box of letters I wrote her back in college. I left the engagement ring on the coffee table. No note. No drama. Just the ring. Let her see it and feel whatever she was capable of feeling. I didn't text her. I didn't call. There was nothing to say. I was too heartbroken to hate. Too stunned to scream. So I just left. I thought it would feel good to yell, to scream, to unleash all the fury I'd been holding like a loaded weapon aimed inward. I imagined scenarios in the shower where I said all the right things. Sharp, precise, devastating. But when the moment came, when she texted me 5 days after everything went to hell with a timid, "Can we talk?" all I felt was tired. Not calm, just tired. Still I agreed. I needed something. Closure maybe. Answers. A scapegoat to unload my grief onto. She showed up at my mom's house where I was staying, in the same coat she used to wear when we went on winter dates. It looked colder now. Muller. She stood on the porch with red-rimmed eyes and hands shoved in her pockets like she was 13 again. I didn't invite her in. Just stepped out, shut the door behind me, and leaned against the siding like it could keep me upright. Her mouth opened first. "I'm so sorry," she whispered like quieter meant more honest. I wanted to laugh. I didn't. I just stared at her, watched her fidget, watched her reach for her necklace, the one I gave her when we hit 5 years, and then think better of it. She said things like it didn't mean anything, and I didn't plan it, and I was confused, as if any of that would undo the image burned into my skull. I asked her one question. Why him? She looked like she'd been waiting for that. Her answer came slow. He listened. He made me feel seen. He nodded. Then I said the thing that had been rotting my insides for a week. I spent years making you feel seen. I just didn't expect I'd have to compete with my own father. Her face broke then, truly cracked. But no amount of shaking shoulders or tearful apologies could glue back the future she shattered. Later that night he called. I didn't answer. He texted, "Please talk to me." Then, "I messed up." Then, "I still love you, son." And that was the final straw. I exploded, not outwardly but inside. A slow-motion implosion. Rage boiled in my chest. All the things I couldn't say spilling out in the silence of my empty childhood bedroom. I hated him. I hated her. I hated myself for not seeing it, for ignoring the signs, for still, God help me, missing the way things were. But I also knew I had a choice to make. To drown in this anger or crawl my way back to something resembling peace. So I went for a walk. No headphones. No distractions. Just my breath, my steps, and the raw wound of betrayal bleeding into the wind. Recovery didn't feel like healing at first. Felt like work. Like brushing my teeth even though I didn't care. Like folding clothes I hadn't worn in days. Like saying I'm okay, when I wasn't but wanted to be. I started therapy. I started running. I started waking up before noon again. Rage had made me feel alive, like fire licking the inside of my ribcage. But recovery made me feel real. For the first time in weeks, I looked in the mirror and didn't see a victim. I saw a man who survived something unthinkable and was still standing. Not just standing, walking forward. One steady, deliberate step at a time. The day we signed the papers was overcast, the kind of gray that seemed choreographed, as if the sky knew it was the end of something. I didn't dress up. Just wore the same hoodie I'd worn the day I moved out. She showed up in muted colors too, like she didn't want to offend the silence between us. We didn't talk much while waiting, just polite nods and the occasional shared glance, like two strangers recognizing each other at an airport gate but unsure whether to say hello. The lawyer was kind, efficient. Her pen scratched the page first. And mine. Just like that, nearly a decade collapsed into initials on a dotted line. She reached for a tissue. I didn't. There was nothing left in me to cry. We walked out of the building separately. My mom texted, "Proud of you. Dinner's waiting." I stared at that message for a while, thumbs hovering over the keyboard with nothing to say back. Proud of me. For what? Surviving. For not setting the whole damn place on fire. Maybe that was enough. I drove home. My home now. A small one-bedroom apartment with thrifted furniture and quiet walls. It smelled like wood polish and laundry. No memories lived here yet. Just potential. I unpacked slowly that night. Put books on shelves. Hung pictures. Lit a candle. The bed felt foreign but clean. Untouched by betrayal. For the first time in a long time I slept through the night. My father tried again. Another message. Voicemail this time. His voice cracked around the words. I made a mistake. I deleted it. Blocked the number. It was over. Not in a cinematic scream and to bleed kind of way. Just over. Like a book you close and quietly slide back on the shelf. No sequel. No reread. Just closure. I kept waiting for the anger to come back, for the betrayal to surge up and steal another day from me. But it didn't. The grief was there, sure, like a faded scar you sometimes trace without realizing it. But it didn't ache anymore. I'd stopped asking why. I'd stopped needing answers. Some betrayals are so deep, they answer themselves. I made peace with the fact that I'll never be the man I was before it all happened. And I don't want to be. That version of me didn't know what to watch for. This version walks slower, listens harder, trusts less but loves deeper. And someday maybe I'll love again. But for now I make my coffee the way I like it. I leave the blinds open because the morning light feels good on my face. I work. I run. I rebuild. One habit, one meal, one honest conversation at a time. This wasn't the ending I imagined. But it's the one I chose. And that's enough.